What's going on, everybody? In this video, what I want to talk about is what your anxiety says about you. And this is particular for people who suffer with chronic anxiety, where anxiety is a problem every single day. And this is something I struggled with for years. Particularly, it got really, really bad in 2020. And what I'm about to say is going to be very controversial. Maybe not. Maybe after I explain it, you'll probably start to get it. But what your anxiety says about you. And this is coming from experience. This is coming from a guy who suffered with anxiety for, I would say, maybe 12 years of like persistent anxiety, chronic anxiety, like literally waking up, struggling to breathe sometimes, particularly when going into like social situations. So this is a video you might want to hear. So remember, this is coming from experience. I'm not just saying this just to say this, and I'm saying this because I do have empathy for people who suffer with anxiety. But what your anxiety says about you, if there's somebody who really suffers with chronic anxiety, more than likely, you might be a narcissist. What? Yes, you might be a narcissist. You might be a selfish person. You might be a person that can't take their head out of their butthole, who only cares about what's going on with their lives. Now, if this triggers you in any way, great. And like I said, this might be a video that you might not want to hear, but you have to hear. And the reason why I'm saying this is because back in the day, I used to have to do public speaking things. I worked full time as a trainer. I would have to go to events and I would have to talk because I was a pretty good trainer and I had to share what I knew. However, every time I would go up on stage, I would suffer with extreme anxiety, especially before when I would be preparing for it. And what I realized most was the reason why I was having so much anxiety was because I was only thinking about myself, how I would look. Is this speech going to make me look cool? When I would go to social events, I would only think about how I'm going to look, how I'm going to feel. I never ever thought that maybe, just maybe, I should focus on giving the audience a great experience. Or if I went to the social event, making everybody else have a good time. I never thought to give. I was only thinking about taking. How can I look cool? Now, for a lot of people, they might disagree. I understand. But let me ask you a question. When's the last time, if you're a person that suffers with anxiety, when's the last person you thought about somebody else? When's the last time you did something for somebody else without asking or expecting anything in return? When's the last time you did something for somebody else, not because you felt like you had to, but because you wanted to? Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of times, even with anxious people who do things for others, more so because you're people pleasing. It's more so because you don't want the other person to not like you if you decide not to do it. So my question to you, if you're a person who suffers with chronic anxiety, are you a narcissist? Do you only think about yourself? Do you ever think about other people? Now, some of you might be thinking, no, I get anxiety because of I have to take care of somebody else. Well, are you really just thinking about taking care of somebody else, or are you thinking about yourself? Now, this might not be true for everybody, but for a lot of you who suffer with chronic anxiety, trust me, I'm in a Facebook group that suffers with anxiety. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and I see some of the things people vent about. And I'm like, wow, it's like a pity party. And I'm not saying I don't have empathy. There's a reason why I'm in these Facebook groups, because I used to suffer with anxiety really bad. And I noticed whenever I suffered with anxiety, I would always make things about me. I would tell people, you don't understand what it's like to have this type of anxiety. And it's kind of like I wanted this pity. So, if you are a narcissist, if you're a person who only cares about themselves, and this is not intentional, this is all unconscious. You might not intentionally just be caring about yourself. What I want you to start doing is as opposed to focus internally on how you're feeling, start focusing externally. Start participating in the world. Start looking at the present moment as a true gift. Start becoming more interested in the moment as opposed to trying to manipulate the moment to fit your needs. If you start doing that, if you start to shift your focus externally, you start to focus on the outside world. Like literally, like right now, if you just look at your hand and start noticing your hand, start noticing the things around you. The next time you get anxious, particular, just shift your focus outwards. You know, one of the exercises I like to do is lock my eyes on the spot directly in front of me. You could try it right now. If just look at something directly in front of you. Don't look at me because right now I'm probably triggering you. But focus your attention on something directly in front of you and just stare at it. And notice what happens. Notice how you begin to focus. Notice how just by doing that one simple trick, by paying attention to something outside of yourself, your mind begins to quiet. You start to feel more relaxed. And if you do this consistently, you start to feel more selfless as opposed to selfish. You start to participate in reality. You start to engage with it. You start to love it. You start to actually give genuine love, as opposed to just giving love just to receive back. You start to give freely. You start to explore. You start to go outside of your comfort zone. You become more optimistic. You start to see life as a challenge, but in a way you start to realize challenges are fun. These are all things you could do if you start to shift your focus more so outward. And I have a ton of these things that you could do. You know, something I call anxiety disturbance exercises, where it actually, you know, it shifts your focus when people are receiving anxiety. And if this is something you're interested in, because right now I'm working on a 4-week course on how to release anxiety. I actually call it the Anxiety Release Breakthrough System. If this is something you're interested in, and basically it's about releasing anxiety. It's about learning not to be a narcissist. It's about learning to become a giver, a true, genuine giver. If this is something you're interested in, comment in the comment section below. Let me know. But trust me, this is something I suffered with for years. I was a narcissist for a long, long time. I was always in my room trying to read. I was really into like social influence books. I was trying to figure out ways to game the system, particularly socially, because this is where I suffered with it. I was trying to control people, manipulate people. It's something my girlfriend says now. Like back in the day, I was very, very manipulative. Particularly as a trainer, I would try to use these cheap tactics to sell something to somebody. And it wasn't until 2020 where I realized, oh, I really am a narcissist. So if this is you, let me know. You might disagree, but this is something I found that my anxiety says something about me, that I was actually a narcissist. I was very selfish. I couldn't take my head out of my butthole. And this is something I worked on over the last 4 years, particularly with this channel, Stretch and Grow. I learned how to release my anxiety through using my body and opening up certain muscles. So if this is something that you're interested in, comment in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. Hopefully, this is a video that you've enjoyed or triggered you, whatever it may be. If you like the video, please like. Of course, please share with a friend that might need to hear about this, particularly if they're a narcissist. And if you haven't already, subscribe now.